Hi everyone, welcome back to Jess Reads. If you're new here, I'm Jess, and this is going to be my January wrap-up. January was a really good month for me reading-wise. I was able to get through 6 books, three physical, and 3 on Kindle, except I don't actually. So what I do is after I read a Kindle book, I delete it off of my Kindle to make room. So I'm just gonna be like putting the picture of the book on the screen for you guys once I go through them. Um so yeah, why don't we just get into it? So the first book that I read was Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. This book, well, first of all, so the tropes are like accidental pregnancy, and it's basically they meet, they do the deed, and she gets pregnant, and it's actually the whole point of the story is that they each have limb a limb difference, and so she was born with a hand dis disfigurement. I don't, excuse my ignorance, I don't really know how to say that, but she was born with something with her hand, and he had lost his leg below the knee from cancer. So they, bond over that. They do the deed, and she gets pregnant, and she ends up moving in with him so that they can, take care of the baby, and then they fall in love, and it's a beautiful, beautiful story. I rated it 5 stars. And Bo, that man is like everything. Like, I could not get enough of him. Um oh man. He's like one of my top book boyfriends, I think. So yeah. So the next book I got through was Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh, which is the sequel to Binding 13. You have probably heard of these. They just came out. They redid, they re-released was it Bloom? Or, no, Berkeley or Bloom. I'm not totally sure. Don't quote me on that. It's one of the two. So they re-released under one of those companies, and I haven't gotten those covers. Like, I wanted the originals, so I have both originals. Anyway, my point is, so if you read Binding 13, if you haven't, skip through this, but if you have, you know that it ends on a cliffhanger. So Keeping 13 picks up where Binding 13 left off, and oh man, the whole book is just full of like insane, like, I mean, other than like what Shannon goes through, it's just what Johnny Shannon goes through is crazy. But they're so in love. Like, they're my favorite book couple. Like, if Bo was my favorite book boyfriend from Out on a Limb, then Johnny Shannon is my favorite book couple. My Twitter Twitter header is a Johnny Shannon quote. This book, I like this better than Binding 13. Like, I flew through this, by the way. Like, I flew through this because I could not stop reading it. And when I finished, like, I felt like a part of me died, but a part of me was like put back together. You know what I mean? Because like it's over, because it's not technically over because there's 2 more books and then another book coming out, but like their story is over because the other Johnny and Eve, not Johnny, um sorry, what the hell's his name? Joey, sorry. Joey and Aoife's story is basically like their books are basically Binding 13 and Keeping 13 from their perspectives. So I didn't really feel the need to get them, but I will probably be getting Gibbsy and Claire's book when that comes out. I'm really excited about that, so I will definitely mention that in a video in the future. So next we have Picking Daisies on Sundays by Liana Cincotti. I think that's how you say her name. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, so if not, I apologize. But this is basically, this centers around Daniela, and she is in love with her best friend Levi, and she admits it to him, like, at like a, where was it? Was it at like prom or something? I think it was at like prom or something, and she was drunk and she like admitted it to him, and he didn't feel the same way. And like 4 years later they run into each other again, and he asks her to be his like fake date to a wedding, and it's this whole thing. And by the way, this cover is like she hand drew this, and it's beautiful. And I love everything about this book. Picking Daisies on Sundays, that's a beautiful title. The cover art, her name, Daniela Daisy Maria, and Levi. I love the name Levi, but that's beside the point, I guess. But this, I also flew through this book, and I gave it 4 stars just because I don't know, something about it. I didn't want to give it like a full, well, okay, technically I gave it 4.5 on Storygraph, but on Goodreads I gave it 4 because I couldn't give it 4.5. So yeah, that's that. So next I read Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. This was a very anticipated book by like everybody who has ever read like a rom-com and is into like cowboy romances and all that fun stuff. And it centers around Emmy Ryder and Luke Brooks, and Emmy basically comes back to her hometown to take a break from riding, and she runs into Luke, and they don't really like, they've never really liked each other, but they end up, it's this whole thing. It's obviously like, I'm sure you can guess what happens. And he is just like there for her, and like for the reason that she came home, and it's such a good book. Like, I was like, you know how they say like, oh, giggling and kicking my feet, like, yeah, it was that. So the next book I got through was none other than Flawless by Elsie Silver. I have to admit, I started reading this last year in like March or April or something, and I just never got around to finishing it until like last week. So I don't, it's not because I couldn't get into it, it's just because like I found all these other books that I liked. I don't want to say better, but just like other books that I was into, and I kind of put Flawless on the back burner. I tend to do that a lot, so like, sorry, not sorry, but anyway, this is basically about, it's about Summer and Rhett, and Summer basically has to babysit Rhett because he got in trouble, and her father is Rhett's like coach, manager type person, and it's this whole thing, and they fall in love, and every book ends up, obviously they fall in love, but like, she's basically off limits because of who her father is, and he is like, I don't care, I want her, and he goes for her, and it's so good. Oh, I never told you guys that Done and Dusted was 5 stars, and I think, let me double check on that, my bad. Done and Dusted was 5 stars, and I rated Flawless 4 stars, just because I don't know, I think Done and Dusted had something that Flawless just didn't. I hate to say it, but it was still like a wonderful read. And I started Heartless, which is not necessarily the sequel, well, it is the sequel, but it's it centers around two other characters in the series. So, yeah, I mean it's a series, so I guess it would be a sequel, but it centers around two different characters. So yeah. And the final book I got through was Funny Feelings by Tara DeWitt. And this, what is her name? I'm never gonna remember character names. Like unless I'm like obsessed with the book, like I can't remember names. Farley Jones, centers around Farley Jones, and she is a stand-up comedian, and she has to form a fake relationship with her manager Meyer, and it just like all this stuff happens. Obviously, that was a stupid thing to say, but and also Meyer's a single dad. His daughter is deaf, and they basically it's like it's a love story, but it's also like a found family kind of thing, because Farley's parents don't approve of her career. They never have. And there's like one instance in the book where like her mother comes back for a minute, and it's kind of sad, but like the book overall was like absolutely incredible. I rated it 5 stars. Alright, so those were the 6 books that I got through in January. According to Goodreads, I'm 2 books ahead, so like I'm doing great, I think. But like I said, it's January, which means I could fall behind at any given moment. It's only 2 books, but it's only 2 books ahead, so we'll see what happens. I hope that I will keep this up. Granted, I have the time right now, so we'll see. Alright, so that is it for this video. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't. You know the drill. Yeah, also, speaking of comments, comment below any, I was about to say any books, any videos that you want to see. My last video I did was 10 fantasy books that I want to read this year, which, actually, those are them up there. Little sneak preview, if you will. But yeah, just comment any more similar or different videos you want to see. I will admit I have kind of slacked on like my normal TBR. I was supposed to do like a January February TBR, like a certain, because I used the TBR jar, and I have not picked up any of those books. But knowing me, like it's not a surprise. But so hopefully I'll be able to get through those at some point this year. Anyway, yeah, so that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in my next one. Alright, bye guys.